Hello everyone, and welcome back to the M.O.W. channel. Today, we'll be talking about one of the most infamous serial killer cases in American history. The son of Sam, also known as the .44 caliber killer, the man who terrorized New York in the 1970s. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, let's get started. David Richard Berkowitz was born on June 1, 1953, in Brooklyn, New York. His birth name was Richard David Falco, but his life began with turmoil. He was born to Elizabeth Betty Broder, who was struggling financially and working as a waitress. Betty's marriage had already fallen apart, and to make things even more complicated, David's biological father wasn't her husband, but a Jewish businessman named Joseph Kleinman. Just a few days after he was born, Betty gave him up for adoption. He was taken in by Nathan and Pearl Berkowitz, a middle-aged Jewish couple living in the Bronx. They changed his name to David Richard Berkowitz, and raised him as their only child. On the outside, his childhood might have looked normal, but inside, David struggled. Even though he went through the traditional Jewish bar mitzvah, he was bullied a lot, partly for being Jewish and partly for being overweight. These early years shaped a deep insecurity and anger within him. According to journalists who later studied his life, David was smart, but he lost interest in school early. Instead, he became fascinated by petty theft and setting fires, behaviors that hinted at much darker impulses. Neighbors later described him as a difficult, angry kid. His adoptive parents were worried enough to take him to a therapist, but nothing came of it officially. He attended public schools in the Bronx, though school never grounded him. One of the biggest turning points came when he was 14. His adoptive mother died of breast cancer. David was devastated. His relationship with his father became strained, especially after his father remarried. David resented his stepmother and grew increasingly isolated. In 1971, at the age of 17, David joined the U.S. Army. He trained at Fort Knox and later served with an infantry unit in Korea. The Army gave him discipline and structure, things he desperately needed, but his emotional struggles didn't go away. He left the military honorably in 1974. After returning to New York, he tracked down his biological mother. When she finally told him the truth about his birth and his complicated father figures, it shattered him. According to experts, learning about his past was a major psychological breaking point. David felt abandoned not once, but multiple times in his life. He tried to move forward. He enrolled briefly in Bronx Community College and worked various blue-collar jobs. By 1976, he was working as a postal sorter for the U.S. Postal Service, an ordinary job for someone battling extraordinary inner chaos. But inside, his anger and loneliness were building into something monstrous. His first violent attack came on Christmas Eve, 1975, when he stabbed two women with a hunting knife. When that didn't give him the satisfaction he expected, he turned to a gun, a .44 caliber bulldog revolver. Soon after, New York City would be plunged into fear as young couples were shot in parked cars across the boroughs. The rage, the isolation, the resentment toward women, everything inside him boiled over, and the world would soon know his name as the Son of Sam. On July 29, 1976, at about 1:10 a.m., the terror of the Son of Sam officially began. In the Pelham Bay neighborhood of the Bronx, New York City unknowingly stepped into 2 years of fear. This first attack is now known as the Gloria Valenti shooting. It was also the first time David Berkowitz used the weapon that would later become infamous, a .44 caliber bulldog revolver. 18-year-old Donna Lauria, an EMT student, was sitting in her friend Jody Valenti's car after a night out at a disco in New Rochelle. They were chatting, laughing, just winding down. When Donna opened the door to get out, Jody noticed a man quickly approaching. Before Donna could even say, "What's going on?" the man crouched down, pulled a gun from a paper bag, and fired. Donna was killed instantly. Jody was hit in the thigh but survived. A third bullet missed both girls. The shooter calmly walked away into the night. Jody later described him as a white man in his early 30s, around 5 feet 8 inches and about 200 pounds, with short, curly dark hair. Donna's father also reported seeing a similar man, sitting in a yellow compact car nearby. Neighbors said a strange yellow car had been cruising the area for hours. Years later, in 1993, Berkowitz admitted in an interview with journalist Maury Terry that he was the shooter that night. 3 months later, on October 23, 1976, another attack shook Queens, this time near Bone Park in Flushing. 20-year-old Carl Denaro, a Citibank security guard, and his 18-year-old girlfriend, Queens College student Rosemary Keenan, were sitting in her parked car when the windows suddenly exploded. Carl later said, "It felt like the car blew up. They didn't even realize it was gunfire at first." Carl had been shot in the head and later needed a metal plate in his skull. Rosemary escaped with minor injuries from shattered glass. Neither saw the shooter. Police found a .44 caliber bullet, but it was too damaged to link to a specific gun. Because Carl had been leaning forward, detectives later suggested the shooter might have mistaken him for a woman. Rosemary's father was a veteran NYPD detective, so the case was taken seriously, but like the first shooting, there were no leads, no motive, and no progress. At that time, police did not yet connect the two attacks, since they occurred in different boroughs. Then came November 27, 1976, the Damasio Lamino shooting in Floral Park, Queens. High school students Donna Damasio and Joanne Lamino were returning from a movie and chatting on Joanne's front porch. A young man in military-style clothing walked up and politely asked for directions, then suddenly pulled out a revolver and opened fire. Donna was shot in the neck but survived. Joanne was hit in the back, paralyzing her from the waist down. Witnesses reported seeing a blond man running away with a gun. On January 30, 1977, the violence escalated. Secretary Christine Freund and her fiancé John Deal were sitting in their car near the Forest Hills LIRR station when 3 shots shattered the windows. John survived with minor injuries. Christine was hit twice and died hours later in the hospital. Again, no one saw the shooter. This time, NYPD finally acknowledged publicly that the cases might be connected. The victims were mostly young couples. The attacks were sudden and random, and all bullets were .44 caliber. 2 composite sketches were released, one dark-haired man, one blonde, leading police to believe there might be multiple suspects. On March 8, 1977, another tragedy struck. Columbia University student Virginia Voskerikian was walking home near the previous shooting scene. She tried to shield herself with her textbooks, but a single shot to the head killed her instantly. 2 days later, NYC officials publicly confirmed that the same .44 Bulldog revolver had been used to kill both Donna Lauria and Virginia. Although some forensic doubts remained, the city now knew a serial killer was hunting its streets. By this time, the media frenzy was in full force. The New York Post and Daily News ran constant headlines. People around the world followed the story. Young women, especially those with long dark hair, lived in fear. Salon appointments skyrocketed, many changed hairstyles to avoid becoming targets. The city felt held hostage by an invisible predator, one who struck at random and disappeared just as quickly. New York was terrified, and the nightmare was only beginning. In the early hours of April 17, 1977, around 3 a.m., New York's fear hit a breaking point. 20-year-old tow truck driver Alexander Esau and his girlfriend, 18-year-old Lehman College student and aspiring actress model Valentina Shuriani, were sitting in a car owned by Esau's brother. The vehicle was parked only a block from Valentina's home, off the Hutchinson River Parkway Service Road in the Bronx. A resident nearby heard 4 gunshots and called police. Valentina, in the driver's seat, was hit once and died instantly. Alexander was shot twice in the head and died hours later in the hospital. Unable to describe the shooter, police quickly said the gun used matched the .44 caliber Bulldog believed to be tied to earlier attacks. In 1993, David Berkowitz would later confirm he was the gunman. But what truly shook the city wasn't just the murders. It was what the killer left behind. Near the crime scene, detectives found a handwritten letter, mostly uppercase, some lowercase mixed in, and addressed to NYPD Captain Joseph Borelli. For the first time, the killer named himself Son of Sam. Up until then, the press had called him the .44 caliber killer. This letter changed everything. It was bizarre, taunting, chilling, a rambling manifesto, mixing threats, delusions, and eerie family imagery. In it, he mocked police and vowed to continue killing. One disturbing passage read, "It hurts me when people call me a woman hater. I am not, but I am a monster. I am the son of Sam. Daddy Sam gets drunk and beats his family. Sometimes he locks me in the attic. I watch the world pass by like an outcast. I am programmed to kill. To stop me you must kill me. Stay out of my way or you will die. Queens are the prettiest of all. I live for the hunt. Mr. Borelli, I don't want to kill anymore. No, but I must honor my father. I am not of this earth. Bless you all, and have a happy Easter. I'll be back." Bang, 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 bang. Psychiatrists later pointed out that many serial killers don't hide. They enjoy controlling the narrative and taunting the people hunting them. Police analyzed the strange phrasing, even wondering if part of it suggested a Scottish accent, and speculating that he blamed a dark-haired nurse for his father's death. On May 26, after consulting mental health experts, NYPD released a psychological profile. A paranoid schizophrenic, delusional, believing he was possessed by demons. Then, on May 30th, Daily News columnist Jimmy Breslin received another handwritten letter, postmarked from Englewood, New Jersey. On the back, blood and family, darkness and death, absolute depravity. 44. This letter was more polished, more controlled, almost theatrical. The writer thanked Breslin for his coverage and chillingly asked, "Jim, "What will you have for July 29th?" A clear threat tied to the anniversary of the first shooting. He added, "Don't forget Donna Loria. She was a very, very sweet girl. But Sam is thirsty. I love my work now the void has been filled." He mocked police, telling detectives to stay at the crime scenes. Because the lettering looked like comic book style block print, police even contacted DC Comics to see if anyone recognized the writing. The Daily News published the letter a week later, and the issue became the best-selling newspaper in its history. Panic exploded. Women with long, dark hair. The killer's apparent preference cut or dyed their hair. Beauty shops couldn't keep wigs in stock. Still, the shooting continued. On June 26, 1977, in Bayside, Queens, Salvatore Lupo and Judy Placido were sitting in a parked car when 3 bullets were fired into it. Lupo was hit in the arm. Placido suffered wounds to her temple, shoulder, and neck, yet both survived. They had been talking about the Son of Sam case moments before the attack. Witnesses saw a tall man with dark hair and casual clothes fleeing the scene. With the 1-year anniversary of the first .44 shooting approaching, police flooded the Bronx and Queens, expecting the killer to strike again in his familiar territory, but they were wrong. The final .44 caliber attack would happen in Brooklyn, setting the stage for the terrifying climax of the Son of Sam reign. His deranged letters, strange, taunting, and dripping with madness, had become one of his most powerful weapons. They didn't just mock police, they terrorized an entire city. And New York braced for the next shot. While the Son of Sam continued terrifying New Yorkers, police were under enormous pressure to solve the year-long string of shootings. As the 1-year anniversary of the first .44 caliber attack approached, officers set up heavy patrols across Queens and the Bronx areas, where earlier attacks had taken place, putting everything into catching the killer. But the next, and final, .44 caliber attack happened where they least expected. In Brooklyn's Bath Beach, early in the morning on July 31, 1977. This final shooting marked the peak of the city's fear. 20-year-old secretary Stacy Moskowitz and 20-year-old clothing store worker Robert Violante were on their first date, sitting in Violante's car under a streetlight near a park. While the two were kissing, a man walked up to the passenger side less than 3 feet away and fired 4 shots through the window, hitting both victims in the head before running into the park. Violante survived but lost his left eye. Moskowitz, the only blonde victim, died from her injuries. The attack sent the city into full-blown panic and pushed police to the breaking point. That night, Detective John Filatico was called from home and ordered to report to the 60th Precinct in Coney Island. He was told to handle the Moskowitz-Violante case for 2 weeks, as if it were a normal homicide, and only after that would it be transferred to the Son of Sam task force. That alone showed how focused the investigation still was on certain neighborhoods. But this scene delivered the breakthrough police desperately needed. A neighborhood resident, Cecilia Davis, reported that, while walking her dog near the shooting scene, she saw Officer Michael Cataneo writing a parking ticket for a car near a fire hydrant. After the officer left, Davis noticed a young man walking past her, holding what she described as a dark object, and staring at her in a way that scared her. She hurried home and moments later heard gunshots. Davis stayed silent for 4 days before calling police and urging them to check every car that had been ticketed in the area that night. Investigators did, and one car stood out, a yellow 1970 Ford Galaxy, registered to David Berkowitz. His name also matched a witness account of a man seen driving away from the earlier Queens shooting of Lupo and Placido. That yellow car would soon become symbolic, the roaming shadow behind every crime scene. Momentum finally shifted. On August 9, 1977, NYPD Detective James Justice called the Yonkers Police Department to arrange an interview with Berkowitz. The dispatcher on the phone, Wheat Car, immediately recognized the name and said, "I know who he is. He lives right behind me." Wheat Car added that Berkowitz had once shot her father, Sam Carr's black Labrador retriever. Hearing the name Sam, Justice suddenly felt a jolt. Could Berkowitz be the Son of Sam? Yonkers detectives told the NYPD they'd already been suspicious themselves, since an odd incident in Yonkers matched a reference in one of the Son of Sam letters. On August 10, police watched Berkowitz's car outside his apartment building at 35 Pine Street, Yonkers. In the back seat they spotted a handgun. Searching the car, they found a duffel bag full of ammunition, maps of crime scenes, and a threatening letter addressed to Task Force Commander Timothy Dowd. Officers chose not to storm his apartment. The cramped hallway could turn into a deadly shootout. They also didn't yet have the search warrant they were expecting for the apartment. Under New York law at the time, having a handgun in the back seat of a car wasn't illegal by itself, so they had to play it carefully. Around 10 p.m., Berkowitz walked out and got into his car. There was still no warrant, but police moved anyway. Detective Filatico approached the driver's side and pressed his gun to Berkowitz's temple, while Sergeant William Gardella covered the passenger side. A paper bag next to Berkowitz held the .44 caliber Bulldog revolver, later confirmed by ballistics. Berkowitz looked at them calmly and said, "Well, you got me." Filatico later remembered the strange, wide smile on his face. When the detective said, "Now that we've got you," the suspect softly asked, almost sweetly, "Who have you got?" Filatico replied, "You tell me." Berkowitz turned and said, "I'm Sam." "Sam who?" the detective asked. "Sam David Berkowitz." Another version claims his first words were, "Well, you finally got me. What took you so long?" Either way, Filatico became the officer officially credited with arresting the son of Sam, bringing an end to the year of terror that had gripped New York City. As soon as David Berkowitz was arrested, he was briefly held at the Yonkers police station, before being transferred to the 60th Precinct in Coney Island, where the Son of Sam task force was based. His arrest brought a wave of relief across New York City, and Mayor Abraham Bean quickly appeared before the press, saying, "New Yorkers can rest easy knowing that the police have arrested the man they believe is the Son of Sam." Early in the morning on August 11, 1977, Berkowitz sat for a short, 30-minute interrogation. Right away, he confessed to all the shootings and said he planned to plead guilty in court. Detective John Keenan led the questioning. During his confession, Berkowitz gave bizarre explanations for his actions, claiming that a neighbor's dog told him to kill, and that the dog demanded the blood of pretty young girls. He said the Sam mentioned in his first letter was his former neighbor, Sam Carr, and that Carr's black Labrador was possessed by an ancient demon who ordered him to murder. Berkowitz was placed in the psychiatric ward at Kings County Hospital shortly after his arrest, and staff reported he seemed oddly calm and unaffected by what was happening. A few weeks later, on September 19, 1977, he sent a letter to the New York Post again referencing his original demon possession story, but this time ending with a warning that some investigators interpreted as hinting at accomplices. "There are other sons out there. May God help the world." However, in 1979, Berkowitz publicly admitted the demon story was a lie. He later told court-appointed psychiatrist Drive David Abrahamson that he had long fantasized about killing, as revenge against a world he felt had rejected him. He also said that he had planned to end his killing spree by going out in a blaze of glory at a Hamptons nightclub. After 3 separate psychiatric evaluations, he was found mentally fit to stand trial. His lawyers advised him to plead insanity, but Berkowitz refused. On May 8, 1978, he calmly pled guilty to all the shootings. 2 weeks later, during the sentencing phase, he suddenly tried to jump out a 7th-floor courtroom window and shouted, "Stacy was a whore, and I'll kill them all again." He was subdued, evaluated again, and once more deemed competent. On June 12, 1978, Berkowitz was sentenced to 25 to life for each murder, to be served consecutively. Under his plea agreement, he would be eligible for parole after 25 years. Despite prosecutors objecting. The day after sentencing, he was transferred first to Sing Sing, then to Clinton Correctional Facility for psychiatric and medical evaluations. After a brief stay at Central New York Psychiatric Center in Marcy, he was moved to Attica, where he described life as a nightmare. After about 10 years, he was transferred to Sullivan Correctional Facility, and later to Shawangin Correctional Facility. In 1979, an inmate slashed his neck from front to back, requiring more than 50 stitches. Berkowitz refused to identify the attacker and even said he was thankful for the incident. In 1987, Berkowitz announced he had become a born-again Christian, saying a fellow inmate gave him a Bible and that Psalm 346 changed his life. He asked to be called the Son of Hope instead of Son of Sam. He wrote memoirs with help from other evangelicals, appeared in a 1998 video titled Son of Hope, and saw his prison journals published in 2006. He receives no royalties, continues to write about faith and redemption online, and frequently counsels troubled inmates. He also earned honors from Sullivan Community College while incarcerated. Legally, Berkowitz is eligible for parole hearings every 2 years, but he has consistently rejected release. Before his first hearing in 2002, he wrote to Governor George Pataki asking to cancel it. "Honestly, I believe I deserve to be in prison for the rest of my life." At a 2016 hearing, he said parole was unrealistic, but that he'd grown and was no longer dangerous. Officials still denied him parole, noting the severity of his crimes. His 12th parole hearing in May 2024 was also denied. Berkowitz later told the New York Post he only attends hearings to publicly apologize. His next hearing is scheduled for May 2026. In 1979, while in custody, Berkowitz mailed a book on witchcraft to North Dakota police, with passages highlighted and notes referencing Arliss Perry, who was murdered at Stanford University's chapel. This fueled early speculation about a satanic cult connection. Later, Berkowitz claimed he had joined a satanic cult in spring 1975 and said he personally killed only 3 victims: Donna Lauria, Alexander Esau, and Valentina Shuriani, while other shooters in the cult carried out the rest. He named 2 alleged cult members, John and Michael Carr, sons of his former neighbor Sam Carr. Journalist Maury Terry took these claims seriously, publishing investigative articles questioning the lone gunman theory. Most experts dismiss the cult story. Columnist Jimmy Breslin said Berkowitz remembered every detail too clearly to have shared responsibility. Former FBI profiler John Douglas concluded after hours of interviewing him that Berkowitz was an introverted loner with no ability to function in a group. NYPD psychologist Drive Harvey Schlossberg called the cult theory a fantasy to escape guilt. Despite this, Yonkers police briefly reopened the case in 1996. No new charges were filed, and the investigation eventually stalled, though technically still open. Berkowitz's infamy continues decades after his arrest. He frequently speaks about remorse and denounces gun violence in interviews and Christian writings. In 2006, Stacy Moskowitz's mother wrote to Berkowitz before her death, forgiving him for killing her daughter. The case also led to Son of Sam laws, designed to prevent criminals from profiting off their crimes. The original New York law was struck down by the Supreme Court on First Amendment grounds, but a revised version was adopted, and similar laws now exist in most states. Berkowitz's life from terror to imprisonment, religious conversion, continued claims about accomplices, and ongoing parole hearings shows that the Son of Sam case wasn't just the story of a lone killer, but a chapter in New York's history that reshaped public fear, policing, and the law. That's today's story. Please like and subscribe. There are many more crime stories and mysteries on this channel. Thanks for watching.